Good afternoon. This is Media Center, Ukraine, Odesa. We are starting our second briefing for today, which is dedicated to one of the most urgent topics of our region, our country, and perhaps the whole Europe. These are the environmental impact of the explosion of the Kakhovka hydroelectric power plant. Now we have representatives of state bodies and authorities. Our current guests are Pavlo Bulanovych, Director of the Department of Ecology and Natural Resources of Odessa Regional State Administration, Angela Tkachenko, Head of the Department of Food Safety and Veterinary Medicine and Control in the field of organic protection of State Service of Ukraine and Food Safety and Consumer Protection of the Odessa region, and she's also Chief State Veterinary Inspector of the Odessa region, and Mykola Slizovsky, Head of the Department of Instrumental and Laboratory Control of the Odessa region of the Inspection of Southern Western region. Pavlo could start as far as I understand. Yes, good afternoon to everyone. We all know about the man-made disaster as a result of the armed aggression on the 6th of July of 2023. This was a terrorist attack. This was the explosion of Kakhovka hydroelectric power plant dam, releasing a huge volume of water, flooding of Dnipro basin with contamination of water reservoirs by pesticides and agrochemicals, oil products, iron, waste. Houses were damaged, as well as other buildings, including industrial and civilian. Unfortunately, everything got into water reservoirs, leading to the contamination of the Black Sea. Unfortunately, what we can observe now. Scientists say that the situation is rather unpleasant. The Scientific Center of the Sea Ecology and the Institute of the Biology of Thousand Seas, we should expect different types of negative consequences, like dead animals, plants, leading to the decreased quality of feed and the decrease in the bioresources diversity. This man-made disaster isn't live of European scale. It is artificial, and it has already had certain consequences, namely the ecological conditions of water resources and the Black Sea and everything that we can find there. The State Department of the Ecology and Natural Resources of Odessa Regional State Administration has taken a range of steps to minimize the impact of this disaster, at least for the Black Sea limans. Thus, we have closed the water gates in Telegung Liman and in Kuyalnik Liman. So the water there in those limans, those estuary, has not been affected by the disaster. By the management of the head of military administration, Oleg Kiper, a range of meetings have been conducting, as well as the meeting of the emergency commissions. As a result, the algorithm of activities of all services have been developed to be involved in dealing with the consequences of the ecological disaster, including military and marine forces, the armed forces of Ukraine, the State Bodyguard Service of Ukraine, the Seaports Authority, the State Ecological Inspection, and also the State Service of Ukraine on Food Safety and Consumer Protection, all these services will follow the developed algorithm. We can see a huge amount of waste on the coastline. Which is dangerous from the explosive point of view, because the explosive materials can be found there, explosive devices. That's why the waste can be taken from the coastline only following the permission of the State Emergency Service and the military. After they take all measures to check for the possible mines. In the water area, we can find the towboats of the port fleet, including Chornomorsk, Odesa, and Pivdeny seaports. The entrance to the water area has been protected. Everything is under control. As for the water quality, the biggest burden in the ecosystem of the Black Sea was observed in the period from 8th to 11th June. Of course, fresh water that was brought to salt waters of the Black Sea will have its consequences, unfortunately. But now we can speak about stabilization when it comes to desalination. So there are no blast discharges of water as it was 3 or 4 days ago. There is an increased level of suspended solids because of the weights and silt. There is increased number of iron that we can find in the water. I think that the experts from the present services will share more details, those who are responsible for taking and analysis of probes. But we can speak about the start of stabilization of the situation now. As for different types of materials and chemicals, like nitrogen and other, everything is more or less stable. But we can say that at the beach of Langeron, the 16th station of the Big Fontaine, and the city of Chornomorsk, there we have seen salmonella. So I would like to address now our audience not to buy different types of water products, including mussels and repens, because it could be dangerous and it could lead to the ripple effect, leading to the situation that it would be difficult to cope with. I would like to warn from going to the coastline, let alone swimming in the Black Sea. It is dangerous now because a lot of explosive devices have been brought by water and to our coastline, and we could expect even more in the future. The dead animals could be found in water as well. Over the last 3 days, we have, in 3 cases, we have found deers and other animals, like roe deers in the area of Chabanka district and Mayachny Lane, etc. The situation is dangerous. I would like to ask everyone to take measures to preserve their health, the health of our relatives and friends. The state regional administrations take all possible steps now to minimize the negative impact, because the situation is quite dangerous. But when it comes to the quality of the Black Sea, we can speak now at least about a stabilizing situation when it comes to the quality of the water, basing on the information that I have shared with you right now. This is all on my side, and I think that now we can give floor to people responsible for probe taking for more details. Thank you. Mykola, the representatives of Ecological Inspection of Southern Western Region, the floor is yours. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. I could also confirm the situation is dangerous, and I would also like to warn people from going to the coastline, swimming in the Black Sea, and eating sea products. So, with the proper response to the current situation, the ecological inspection is taking measures after the explosion at the Kakhovka hydroelectric power plant dam. We conduct everyday monitoring in 3 main points, 3 main locations. We take probes to test water. These points include Novadofinivka, the Langeron Beach, and the 16th station of the Big Fountain. Every day, we receive results, and we provide this information to the relevant services for the accumulation of the information and the follow-up analysis of the state of the water area of the Black Sea. The first probe was taken on the 7th of June, and I can share now more details with you. As it has been mentioned by my colleagues, the biggest burden with regard to contamination was observed in the period from the 9th to 10th of June. The level of suspended solids was in 10-15 times more than usually. We have also found oil products 6 times more than the threshold allowed. Nitrogen, ammonium nitrogen, and also the decreased salinity of water. At the moment, the salinity is around at 2.5 promils, but the common situation is around 12, 13. So we can now speak about significant desalination of the water area near the coastline, and this will have a negative effect on the bioresources in the Black Sea in this area. We will continue taking probes and will provide the information to the State Emergency Service, the Ecological Department, the military administration. We will also provide this information to Kyiv. And our experts take probes also in the Mykolaiv region, and they also conduct testing to better understand the situation with the contamination of the Black Sea. As for the latest numbers that we have, we can speak about stabilization of indicators. 4.5 ppm of the salinity. The increased level of iron and oil products have not been found recently, as well as other contaminants, according to the testing of our lab. So when it comes to chemical test, there is an increased number of suspended solids, iron, and there is still the decreased level of salinity. So this is all on my side. When it comes to testing, I have a clarifying issue before giving floor to Angela. So am I right as understanding that it's in 6 times that there is a 6-fold decrease of salinity in the Black Sea? So the minimum level that we've detected is 2 ppm, but the normal level is 12 ppm. So we cannot say that this is fresh water, but this is closer to the fresh one. And it was registered on the 9th of June. Angela, the representative of the State Service of Ukraine Food Safety and Consumer Protection and the Chief State Veterinary Inspector of the Odesa region, the floor is yours. Good afternoon. I would like to say that the main department of the state service takes all possible measures within its area of responsibility. There is the order of the Chief State Veterinary Inspector to increase measures to stabilize the situation and to prevent possible unsafe food products, including fish, that could be found possibly at the Odesa markets. According to the mentioned order of the Chief State Veterinary Inspector, we have been working together with the self-governance bodies. In case there are any emergency situations, we exchange information with all the bodies and authorities and take measures according to the legislation. As of today, the territory of the Odesa region has been seeing the veterinary and phytosanitary control involving 56 state labs. As of the 10th and 11th of June, we prevent from getting into the market around 2 kilos of fish, which was not in line with the requirements of the legislation. These were different types of fish, salted, dried, etc. The quality was controlled. The managers of all markets have received official letters to monitor the situation at their markets. The proceedings have been initiated to check markets in the region. We have checked the following markets in Tatarbunare, Sarate, and in Mayaki. There, no violations have been detected. No dangerous fish is sold at the markets. As for the markets of Odesa district, which are located along the coastline of the Black Sea, the official letter has been now under consideration of the state regional administration. Today and tomorrow we are planning complex check in the Odesa region and in the city of Odesa, including Izmail and Belgorod-Dnestrovsky district, which also have access to the water area of the Black Sea. We have been also taking measures to stabilize the situation. The animals have been vaccinated. I would also like to emphasize that if we will learn about the cases of dead bodies, we'll take measures according to the developed algorithm. All self-governance bodies and all authorities are in good communication with our service, with our department, what to do in such situations. I would also like to emphasize that there are summer camps on the territory of the Odesa region to prevent food poisoning and different types of infections, including intestinal infections. The specialists have been monitoring the situation to ensure proper quality of water supplied. All summer and recreation camps, which are open at the moment, provide fresh water to their children, as well as disposable utensils. All authorities responsible for the situation have been informed officially as for the stocks of disinfection substances if needed. And also the experts of the main directorate monitor the situation and check the biggest shopping chains in Odesa region with regard to possible increased prices for fresh water. We also monitor prices in the drugstores who sell fresh water as well. As of today, we have not found any cases of increased prices. And we have been taking all possible measures in our area of responsibilities in the 7th of June. Good afternoon. Thank you. And I would like to give floor to our journalist Olga Dunsky, the 5th channel. First, I have a question to Ms. Tkachenko. Could you provide more details in what districts it is now forbidden to sell fish, if there is any ban on fish sales? According to the order of the Chief State Veterinary Inspector, all market operators are informed about the situation, and they know that they're directly responsible for fish sales according to the law of Ukraine on the main principles and requirements to the quality and of the food products, Article 20. There are also 56 labs in Odesa region. All managers of the markets in our regions are informed about the necessity of veterinary and phytosanitary control for animal and plant products. And the situation is controlled by the managers of the markets in the region. Our directorate prevents bad quality products from getting to the market. I've mentioned 2 kilos of fish. This was salted dried fish, and in that case, the origin was not proved. Why is this fish dangerous? And of course, first of all, this is botulism. The fish, which is mainly bought at mass markets, could be dangerous. That's why we warn people from buying fish at such markets. The next question, 1+1 channel, Sergei Savchuk. You mentioned that the peak that of the wave, like is in the past. What is the forecast? How long should these negative processes in the sea can take? And the second question, with the increased number of temperature, we should expect negative processes that you've mentioned. Yes, the forecast, the situation will be unchanged. I will start from the second part of your question. Of course, increased temperatures of air up to 33 degrees Celsius, as we usually have in July in Odesa. We should expect traditional contamination with the seed, and of course there will be the dead plants and animals in the Black Sea. We are losing the feed bases, zooplankton and phytoplankton, and some part of biological resources will leave the water area of Odesa, trying to find some other areas with food. That's why there's the risk of intestinal diseases, but this is not new, unfortunately, for the Odesa region. In 3 probes, we have found the signs of intestinal infections, which are characteristic to the end of August in our city. We have taken also cholera probes. So it is not an issue at the moment, but we continue taking cholera probes for lab testing, and every day we receive updated results. In case emergencies, we will inform accordingly. When the freshwater flow will be over, it is difficult to say because we do not understand the situation of the Dnipro and Bukh Liman. This is a bottleneck when it flows to the Black Sea, and it is contaminated now. As soon as it cleared up, we will be able to talk about some more precise forecast. I have a question to a representative of the Ecological inspection. Have you taken probes for heavy metals? And do you have information about heavy metals getting into the Black Sea? So as for the heavy metals, the main indicator when it comes to the Black Sea is iron, and we take iron probes, and we control this level all the time. As for other heavy metals, this is not our area of responsibility. So we're responsible for suspended soils, iron, oil products, nitrogen, pH, salinity, oxygen, etc. And I've already provided information about the increased levels of some of the substances, and actually the biochemical consumption of oxygen. But we can take a probe on the 5th day. We have now results for the first 2 days. No increase was identified as for the biological consumption of oxygen, but as it has been already mentioned, with the increased temperatures, we can expect the change of components to the worst. And of course, during the storms, we could expect the sediment from the bottom of the Black Sea, and we will take probes accordingly. So increased temperatures and storms could deteriorate the indicators that we analyze. We have 2 more questions about numbers. Do you have some average calculations about the animal losses in the area because of the flood? And have you also conducted calculations for the environmental damage during environmental disasters? Have you calculated this? At the moment, it is too soon to speak about the calculation of losses. Because the situation has not been stabilized yet to the possible threshold. So we can speak about the increase in indicators, but they can also increase in the future. We will be able to calculate everything afterwards, including the calculation of losses and contamination of the water area of the Black Sea. As for the amount of killed animals, we monitor the situation because we receive information about new cases. So the calculation is ongoing, but we cannot share the final results at the moment. 2 more questions. As far as I understand, that we should do everything on the quality level, because this will be the evidence for future reparation from the aggressor country. Yes, you're perfectly right, and we have already calculated losses to the amount of 100 billion hryvnias, but we continue just obtaining information about new losses and changes in the ecosystem. So 100 billion hryvnias after the 24th of February last year in Odesa and Mykolaiv regions. We also have the Ukrainian Center for the Ecology of the Black Sea that also takes probes in sediment. And after we will see all the losses, we'll be able to calculate everything and to understand what we should do in the future to recover everything. And the question to Mr. Slizovsky. You've mentioned that there was the increased level of oil products, of nitrogen, of suspended soils. What does it mean? This is a wider issue of the impact of factors that can increase different concentrations of contaminants in a water reservoir. Because the Block C now has got a huge amount of water from land. That's why we cannot speak about what exactly increased the number of iron or ammonium nitrogen. As for the oil products, we have information that after explosion of the Kakhovka den, around 150 tons of oil products have got into the water. And of course, it has its impact. And even in 260 kilometers, we've seen the increased level of oil products. Ammonium nitrogen just reflects reactions which are related to the composition of some biological resources. But we just observed that only once. But we cannot speak about the precise reason of this increase, because there is a great amount of factors, because we have a great amount of water that brought contaminants from the huge territories. But we'll just calculate what we can see now to calculate the losses. There is the questions from Union to the ecological state inspection. Can you provide more information what chemical indicators are not tested by the inspection, by the inspectors during the probe taking? The Union asks, we do not test microbiology, viruses, for example, as well as Escherichia coli. Suspilna, Ariadna Panchuk. So could you just share more details about the increased mine danger as a result of the explosion at Kakhovka hydroelectric power plant, etc.? Could you repeat the first question? Mine danger, landmine danger. And as you know, and I can also speak about my experience of the current situation. As it is known, this is a general piece of information. A lot of explosive devices were used to prevent the invasion of the Russian Federation of our coastline, and we have demined areas. Storms or some other natural conditions bring waste with explosive materials to our coastline. It is very difficult in such conditions to understand what is inside the waste. And this also makes it more difficult to clear up the coastline from the contaminants, which we can now observe in our region. It is increased mine danger now. That's why we do not recommend people who are on the coastline to touch anything. And it is we also warn against walking on this waste because there were already cases when the river mines, anchor mines, were found in the waste. The danger is there, and the level is quite high because the mines are disguised by the waste. The mines could be under sand or under seaweeds and some construction materials that have been brought from the Khersonska Oblast, including reed. And we can also should say here about the self-explosion of these mines, like can be disguised by construction and wood waste. Sometimes there are collisions that lead to detonation of mines. That's why it's just really very dangerous. Thank you. If there are no other questions, I would like to thank you for being with us today. We'll continue monitoring the situation and the impact of the explosion at Kakhovka hydroelectric power plant dam. And a small announcement, tomorrow we are going to have the briefing of environmentalist about the danger to flora and fauna of the Black Sea. Please stay tuned and you're invited here. Thank you.